Good evening. My name is Father Bob Pecoraro, and I'm the president here at Cheverus High School, and I want to welcome you all tonight to celebrate the 2023 Cheverus Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. It is a great joy to gather here this evening to celebrate and honor these Cheverus stars: Richie Ashley, Pete Kimmener, John Wolfgram, and the 1961 basketball team. Before we start the program, let us begin in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Strong and faithful God, we thank you for the gifts of mind, spirit, and body. We gather to recognize the success of these exceptional athletes. We thank you for these role models of dedication and perseverance. You have blessed us abundantly and spread the blessing of your love over these individuals through the joy of participation in athletics. The gifts they shared serve as inspiration to us all. In this season of Lent, a season of renewal, let us come to see the world and our community with new eyes. Let us trust that God gives us all the strength we will need to be a champion every day. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And now I'd like to introduce Amy Ashley, our Director of Athletics and Activities.
Thank you, Father, and good evening. As Father said, my name's Amy Ashley, and I serve as the Director of Athletics and Activities. I'm so pleased you all could join us here tonight as we honor two outstanding Cheverus alumni, our state's all-time winningest football coach, and a remarkable team who have all competed at the highest level in athletics and exemplify the core values of our great school. The Cheverus Athletics program develops the character and leadership qualities of all who participate as part of the school's Jesuit mission of forming young men and women for and with others. The athletic program is robust, and our entire department is committed to showing Cheverians the value of teamwork, perseverance, and love of our game. Over 86% of our student body participates in sports, which is well above the national average of 57%. What our school continues to do is incredible. Cheverus has over 80 coaches across 49 teams, and of those 80 coaches, I'm proud to share that over 33% are alumni. Our inductees tonight join an esteemed group of 51 individuals and 3 teams, all of whom boast impressive athletic achievements. Their plaques, which line the walls of our atrium, serve as reminders to our students, faculty, and all who join us on campus that hard work and dedication truly matter. Before you hear from our inductees and their presenters, I'd like to take a moment to say a few thank yous. Thank you to the Athletic Hall of Fame committee members for helping select this year's inductees. Committee members include Hall of Fame Alana Barrera, class of 2004, Katie Roy, class of 2013, Kathy Little, faculty member and coach, Kenny Chinquette, class of 2006, and coach. Nick Denary, faculty member and coach. Randy Shaw, vice president for institutional advancement. Will Tuttle, director of alumni relations and coach. And our president, Father Pecoraro. Thank you to our community members who submitted nominations for alumni to be considered for this year's Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd like to thank our coaches who inspire students to reach their fullest potential every day, both on and off our fields. And finally, thank you to our inductees for remaining members of our Cheverus family and for serving as examples of the best that Cheverus Athletics has to offer. At this time, I'm pleased to welcome Adam Peters, class of 1997, and our assistant boys varsity basketball coach, who will share remarks about our first inductee of the evening, Mr. Richie Ashley.
Good evening. About a week ago, reached out to Amy to get some information on Richie and all of his accomplishments. She said, "How's the speech going?" I said, "Well, it's going all right, but I need to know some things about him and how long it should be." She said, "Well, 5 to 8 minutes." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "No roasting." And I said, 5 to 8 minutes is going to be a stretch, Amy. So, Rich, she's got your back. Your friends want it. I'm not going to do it. So anyway, I'm here tonight to introduce Richard Ashley into the Cheverus Athletic Hall of Fame. Richie is being inducted for his performances on the football field, the basketball court, the baseball diamond, and the sidelines as a coach. He is the third Ashley to be inducted into the Cheverus High School Athletic Hall of Fame, joining his father and his brother Sean. However, it's highly unlikely that he will be the last. With 3 future Cheverians of his own, the Ashleys will have a separate wing in the Hall of Fame here one day. Not to be outdone by her husband and children, I'm sure that Amy, the current athletic director, will find her way into the hall as well. You didn't say I couldn't roast you, so. Richie's DNA is Cheverus High School. From his time as a student athlete to present day as a faculty member and coach, his Cheverus career spans over 25 years. For his accomplishments as a student athlete, he was named Cheverus Athlete of the Year in 1997. A gifted quarterback in football, he moved to wide receiver for the betterment of the team his junior year. He moved back to his natural position his senior year, leading the team to a 7-1 record and a playoff victory, while he excelled in all 3 phases of the game. Offensively, he was second in passing yards in the SMAA. Defensively, he was a state leader in interceptions. He was the recipient of the team's Coaches Award during the final season and his former teammates have characterized him as loyal, outspoken, and a leader with a locked-in focus. There was no greater competitor than him. A point guard in basketball, he was selected team captain his senior season and led the team to the 1997 Class A state championship title. That was the only team to win a state championship after having to win a preliminary playoff game. Every time the team needed a big play, offensively or defensively, Richie delivered. He secured victories over the number 2 seed, the number 3 seed, the number 1 seed in the Western Maine Finals to reach a state championship and defeat the number 1 seed in Eastern Maine champions in overtime. He was a 2-time leading scorer, eclipsing the 1,000-point career scoring mark while averaging 20.9 points per game his senior year. He was a 2-time Player of the Year and MVP, Team Player of the Year and MVP, a 2-time All-Conference selection, along with an All-State selection and McDonald's All-Star in 1997. Let's see. An All-Telegram catcher in baseball, he made the move to shortstop his senior year, again to make the team better. That season, he led the team in multiple offensive categories, along with being a leader on the diamond. Richie had incredible athletic accomplishments during his time at Cheverus. Huge plays, gutsy determination to find ways to help his teams win, and leadership he showed was unmatched. Cheverus basketball coach Bob Brewer said of coaching Richie, "For my money, you were one of the top 3 players in the state. Your mental awareness and instincts for the game far exceeds any player I have coached, and what you did to make this team a championship team, people don't realize what it'll be like without you next year. You made everyone blend as one, and only a real purist understands that." All right, now for the roasting, page 2. Let's see. Richie has always cared more about the name on the front of the jersey than the name on the back of it. He continually put the team and its members before himself. Personal statistics and accolades were sacrificed. He always deferred praise and recognition to his teammates and coaches. What he did for the teams he played for and his teammates on and off the field, court, and diamond made him who he is today. A Cheverus High School Athletic Hall of Famer, but more importantly, a successful teacher and coach. He continues to instill life lessons and characteristics of being a person for and with others in his students and players each day through his teaching and coaching. His students have said that Mr. Ashley has taught them how to think, not what to think. His guidance offered to his students demonstrates the Majas. As a basketball coach, he has surpassed 100 career victories and was the recipient of the Coach of the Year award in 2022. His players have said that Coach Ashley is the epitome of a Cheverian. He is a role model and mentor who lives the motto of being a person for and with others. He is knowledgeable, keeps you on your toes, a realist, and someone who you can always talk to. He has brought the boys' basketball program back to life and relevance again, and they are forever grateful. His players are honored to call him coach, teacher, and friend. To them, he is Cheverus High School. For his contributions as a former three-sport student athlete during his time at Cheverus, and now as a faculty member and coach, it is a privilege and an honor to introduce to you Richie Ashley.
Thank you, Adam. Father Pecoraro, Amy, the Hall of Fame committee, this is a real great honor for me. I also want to thank Kelly and Jeanette and Will for putting on this wonderful evening. Congratulations to all of the other inductees. It's an honor to be inducted with you. It's very humbling to be up here. In those kind words that Adam said, Father will hear his confession afterwards, but is that, to be mentioned in the same breath with all of these people is really, really humbling, especially with my dad and Sean. Bear with me, I'm a little bit Irish. When I was thinking about what to say tonight, it kind of came to me that pretty much isn't about me. It's pretty much about the people that helped me to be here, especially my mom and dad. Two of the best parents that you could ever ask for. People that pushed me and that loved me and showed me everything that it was to be a good person. Thanks. Thank you. Is that, my mom's been sick for over a year. My dad's not doing well, but they are the epitome of what it means to be a Cheverian, and they showed me and helped me in ways that are unimaginable. And the biggest way was that, as some of my colleagues will say, I'm a half-rack. Unlike my dad and my brothers, I didn't go to Cheverus for all 4 years. I went to Westbrook for my first 2, and Mom and Dad made a decision that really changed my life. They decided that, that Cheverus was the place for me, and I'm really eternally grateful for that decision, because I wouldn't be here today without them. They really did everything that you could ever ask for. And I just can't say enough about my parents. One thing that was kind of instilled in us when we were little was that Dad always taught us 2 major things. Number 1, there's nothing more important than your mom. And number 2, nothing comes between the brothers. And for me, Marty and Sean have been my role models my whole life. They've done everything. It was always just a privilege to be always called Little Ash, and to be, kind of even compared in the same breath as them. I couldn't ask for 2 better brothers, 2 people that, have shown me the ropes, have shown me, what it means to be a good person, what it means to be a good athlete. And I'm really, really, really grateful that they're my brothers. I guess I'll stop crying a little bit, but is that, all the hours they played with me. Marty's 13 years half older than I am. Sean's 11 years older than I am. I've been running around these fields in this complex since I was a year old. Marty was a freshman in 1979, and it was, my dream really to be like them. and I'm just so honored that, that hopefully I am as good as they are. Next, I'd like to thank my teammates, my best friends, guys that are here right now, that pushed me every day. Some of my best friends in the whole world. And that bond was kind of formed here at Chevrolet. Mark Renner, who probably nobody knows who that is because, everyone calls him Tank. Jimmy Willett, who drove up, 3 hours here today to be with me. Adam Peters that was here and inducted me today. Jeff Justice, guys that played on my state championship team. Some of the best guys you could have ever asked for. Playing football, when your three best friends and you're the quarterback are the center and the two guards, your life is pretty good. Guys that would, do anything for you. Next are the coaches. I've had some of the, greatest coaches ever. Mr. Brewer, who was inducted to the Hall of Fame, was the perfect coach for me as a basketball coach. He let me play. He let me lead. He was, just everything that I ever wanted as a coach. It's something that, I try to emulate a little bit, and he really, really was, really special to me. He coached both of my brothers as well. My other coaches, Tommy Thornton, Vinny Salamone, and then probably the best coach that I ever had was Ernie Salamone, who's here tonight. And wasn't just because of what he taught us as, being, good football players, because any coach that's any good can do that. But he taught us how to be men. He taught us how to be Cheverians. He taught us, what it was to be, a person for others. And for those coaches, I'm eternally grateful. Also, other coaches that I've been blessed as a coach to coach with. He wasn't able to be here tonight, but Tony DeBias, who gave me my first job, is somebody that, that I learned so much from. Coach Brown, who was here, and I was his JV coach. Obviously, Coach Wolfgram, and coaching with him in football, and Coach Vance, and all of the coaches that have kind of influenced me, my whole entire life. It's really an honor to kind of try to live their legacy. To my team that's here, most of the guys that are here tonight, we're going to honor a team, the 1961 team. They're one of 9 state championship basketball teams here at Chevrolet. And I'm just so proud of you guys, that you guys have brought Chevrolet basketball back to where it needs to be, to where we want it to be as a community. I know the people here are proud of you, and I'm proud of you guys with all of my heart. To my teachers that were here, there's one that's in the crowd tonight, Mrs. St. Pierre, all of the other teachers that I had. One of the big things at Chevrolet is cura personalis and caring for the whole person. And as a student, all the teachers that used to come to our games and talk to me, one I can remember is Father Goodwin, and he would come to all of my basketball games with Mrs. Campbell, and he would be there, and I would go up in the stands and give my mom my holy medal before the games. And then he would just look at me and say, Domine Ashley, calm down. All those teachers. But there's one in particular that's here that I really want to recognize is Mr. Mullen. Mr. Mullen, who took a shot on me, as a teacher in 2004, as a coach, as a mentor, as somebody that I really look up to, as a person, as a human, as a Cheverian, probably one of the most Cheverian people that I know. For him and for everything that he's done for me, for my family, I'm really eternally grateful. And finally, to my kids, my own kids, my little baby girl that's here right now, Annie, to my son, Michael, which Amy and I decided that it wouldn't be probably a great idea for him to be here tonight. He'd probably have his shirt off right now, running around with a basketball, trying to dunk and saying, I'm Savano, and to Lucy, our youngest, and then finally to Amy, who's, just the rock of our family. That's somebody that encouraged me to, apply to become the basketball coach. Somebody that, challenges me. Somebody that, is there for me, that has my back. The things that she does, people really don't know. Being the spouse of a coach isn't easy, especially when it's me. And then she, obviously kind of has a pretty big job as an athletic director, and then taking care of the 3 kids. For you, honey, I really, really appreciate everything that you do for me, for us, for our family. I want to say thank you to everyone that's here tonight. God bless you, and God bless Cheverus High School.
Congratulations, Richie. I swear I did not nominate him. But on behalf of our 3 children, especially Annie, your biggest fan there, congrats. It's awesome. I'd now like to introduce Mr. Jack Dawson, Cheverus class of 1952, and a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame, to share some remarks about Pete Kimmener.
Thank you, Amy. Good evening, everybody. Father Pecoraro, members of the committee, inductees. I want to fill in a blank here with Richie Ashley. When he was a sophomore at Westbrook High School, he visited his guidance counselor and said, I want to make a change. And he said, I hope this doesn't surprise you. And I said, well, what kind of a change? I thought he was going to change a class or something. And he said, no, I want to go to Cheverus. And the guidance counselor said, well, it's about time. Why is this taking so long? Where are those brothers in all of this, and your dad, that they've allowed you to put everything in jeopardy like this? So Richie went to Cheverus, came to Cheverus, and what a great move that was, as you can tell. When I was called and asked to come in here this evening, first of all, it was an incredible honor to be invited back to Cheverus High School. And when I was told that Peter Kimmener would be the inductee, I was more than just honored, I was thrilled. Back in Peter Kimmener's day, and for many decades before that, Cheverus teams were known as the Fighting Irish. Irish they were, and there was some fighting going on, usually up behind the expo after a game with Deering. But they were Irish through and through. There was Curran, O'Brien, Kelly, Foley, Ward, Wood, McDermott, McGinnis, Sheehy, all of them Irish, and all of them loyal and a credit to Cheverus High School. When Peter Kimmener came here, and we heard his backstory, one of 12 children, whose dad, as a military career man, had insisted that his boys have the opportunity to have a Jesuit education. And when he came on the football field, we could tell immediately that he belonged for a number of reasons. Not only did he have speed and good hands and was very coachable, but he was a steadying influence on the Fighting Irish lads that we had here at Cheverus at the time. And when he developed further into his senior year, by that time we were having some success with Portland and with South Portland, but Deering was still the nemesis. And Deering that year had a backfield of sprint champions who, in addition, were the state indoor and outdoor senior relay champions. And our task with them was to stop them from running And with Peter Kimmerer on one defensive end and Jimmy Ward on the other, we kind of succeeded in doing that and forced them to try to throw the football, which they did fairly well, and they took a 7-0 lead, which I think held up through halftime, kind of maintained their lead through the second half until Tommy Foley blocked a punt. And he scooped it up and tried to outrace those 4 sprinters to the end zone. And with a valiant effort, he did make it to the red zone. And then the others took over and put the ball over the goal line. But in the meantime, when Deering tried to pass, Peter Kimmerer nailed the quarterback in the end zone for a safety, and that was the margin of the 15-13 victory over Deering, which made us what was somehow mythically called the city championship. And when that season was over, Terry Glenn, who was an assistant coach with us, who had been captain at Boston College the previous year, and had Father Joe Shea had called me and said, "Would you have room for Terry?" We sure would. And so Terry Glenn coached with us through that year, and at the end of the year, Terry and I collaborated to introduce Peter to the football coaches at BC. We sent the films, talked to them, talked with Coach Flynn, talked with Coach Miller, who was the head coach, and he said, "Well, why don't you bring him down?" So we went down to Boston College and had a nice visit. And the highlight of that visit was, at some point, we walked out onto the stadium field, and it was just Coach Miller and I at that point standing in the end zone, and Peter had wandered off either with another BC player or somebody who was participating. It might even have been Coach Flynn, I can't remember. But Coach Miller said to me, "We've looked at his film, and I'm sorry to tell you that I don't think he measures up." And I said, "Well, in what way does he not measure up?" And he said, "Well, first of all, I think the competition that he's been playing with is not at the level that other players that we recruit have experienced." I said, "Okay, is there anything else?" And he said, "Well, he doesn't have the growth. He doesn't have the size to be a tight end, and we don't know if he has the speed to be a wide receiver or a defensive back, and certainly not the bulk to be a defensive end." I said, have you looked at the films carefully?" And he said, "Well, yeah, so, we assess them and we rate them, and that's where we stand on it." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." And so we went our merry way. Peter then decided to accept an offer from the College of the Holy Cross. He went to Holy Cross, and as your program will tell you if you look through the biography, Holy Cross has beaten us to inducting him into their Sports Hall of Fame. But the best memory I have, and there are many, of Pete, is that 4 years after Coach Miller and I had that chat in the end zone, when he said, Peter would measure up to the kind of competition that he had experienced and the kind of player that they were trying to recruit at BC. 4 years later, in the BC Holy Cross game, Captain Peter Kimmerer of Holy Cross, late in the game, caught a pass deep in the end zone, I think maybe even inside the 5-yard line. And he carried not only the football into the end zone, the very same end zone where Coach Miller and I had our conversation and the fate was sealed. Not Peter Kimmerer's fate, but Coach Miller's fate. And Peter carried not just the football, but 2 BC defenders into the end zone. And when the whistle blew, he was almost exactly in the same spot as I remember it, where Coach Miller and I had that conversation. And no other memory of my coaching or involvement in football makes me prouder than to have seen Peter prevail in the manner in which we knew he could. And so, Peter, thank you for all that you have done as a son and as a graduate of Cheverus High School and Holy Cross. And what a pleasure it is to be able to talk about you with these younger people and some of the older people so that they know who you are and will never forget what you've done. Thank you. It's a pleasure to introduce Peter to the Hall of Fame.
We'll talk about
It's an honor to be here. I'm humbled by this recognition. I'd like to congratulate the fellow inductees. Like to thank the classmates that nominated me, John and Jim, Pete Foley, who is a Hall of Famer swimmer from a few years ago. I wish, Coach, that you would have had those kind words when I was playing for you. I was told by Will Tuttle that we had 5 minutes to talk, and he was going to turn this microphone off and shut off the lights if I went beyond my time. So my remarks are short. I won't scare you with a long talk. I would like to repay and give back a gift that I got here as a student. And I was able to attend Cheverus because of the sacrifice of my parents. And we got, my brother and I, a lot more out of the school than they charged us for. It was a great deal. The rigor of academics tested us, the athletics and who we had as teammates and who we played against tested us and molded us. What I want to give back to you is what a Jesuit scholastic did for me, and hopefully share it with you and make an impression on you. His name was Joe Devlin, Mr. Joe Devlin, and he was our English teacher. And he gave us an assignment on a Friday to write a composition. And back in those days, you didn't have computers and you didn't have AI, so you wrote those out in hand. And he wanted us to write our opinion of what being happy meant. How could you achieve happiness? And I'm sitting there like the rest of the class saying, wait a minute, he's an English teacher and he's got this philosophical thing he's trying to get us to write about. And so I went home and did the rest of my homework over that weekend, the calculus and the history and everything else. And it comes to Sunday night, here we go. And it's probably 10 o'clock at night and I still haven't come to grips with what makes me happy. And so I worked hard at that, and my conclusion and the gift I want to give you has changed my life and guided my life, and maybe it will for some of you as well. And what I wrote about was that what made me happy wasn't winning a football game or crossing the finish line in front of somebody else. It wasn't getting a car that wouldn't break down on the highway. It wasn't any of that stuff. What made me happy and what I wrote back to him that night was doing what God wants me to do. And so what was taught here at the time was become a man for other men. And I have tried to live that my whole life. And it's what's hopefully taught here, I'm sure it is, continues to be taught. And you see in America today people chasing rainbows, I call it. They're going to make more money than anybody else. They're going to have promotions beyond anybody else. You name it, people are chasing it. And it doesn't, in my opinion, bring happiness to their lives. And so there are plenty of examples that God gives us to tell us how to follow him. The Gospels, our priests, our bishops, our faith. But I think if you believe what I'm telling you, it guided my life. It made me happy. And I wish you nothing but happiness. Thank you.
Congratulations, Pete. Next, well, you're a little taller than I am. Next, I'd like to welcome Mike Vance, our head football coach here at Cheverus, who will share remarks about Coach John Wolfgram.
Good evening, everybody. It was a special moment for me when Coach Wolfgram asked me to do this introduction for him for the Cheverus Hall of Fame. And I immediately found myself stuck between a rock and a hard place, because this is a person who's kind of famously deflective of praise and accolades. Doesn't make him comfortable. He'd rather just get on with the next task at hand. So I went to my good friend Dan Costigan and I said, geez, I'm in this spot. You know, what do you think? What do you think about that? He thought about it for a second. He said, you know what? Too bad. So I called Coach and I said, listen, Coach, you've done this to yourself, so you're going to have to grin and bear it for a couple of minutes, and I'll try not to make it too painful. Coach Wolfgram and his wife Adine have known me since I was born in Bangor in 1970, when my father and Coach played garden center on the football team together. They started for 3 years, and then at the end of their playing days, they began their families, took off in different directions in the state of Maine to embark on high school football coaching. 15 years later, I'm a junior at South Portland High School back in our hometown, and word is that Coach Wolfgram's on his way. And I was trying to impress upon my teammates what this meant. I hadn't seen Coach in a number of years since I was a kid, but I was keenly aware of his career, and my parents remained good friends with them ever since. And I told my teammates two things are for sure: this is going to be difficult, and we're going to be put in a position to be successful. And both of those things really panned out. I later coached for Coach Wolfgram in his youth program at South Portland, his freshman program, and then his varsity program. And he really got me started in coaching, which I always felt really grateful for. In 2006, I got a phone call, and Coach invited me to join him on the staff at Cheverus High School. I didn't know much about Cheverus, except they wore purple and gold, and I didn't like anybody who didn't wear red and white. But it only took me about 30 seconds over here to realize that we were in a special place. Over his 10 seasons as head coach, Coach Wolfgram was able to replicate the same results he achieved in his previous 3 stops: Madison, Gardner, and South Portland. That is, he led his Cheverus teams to the highest level, on and off the field, in the classroom, and in their personal lives. There was a process of cultural change early on here in the program, followed by many, many exhilarating wins, gold balls, state record win streaks, a couple of difficult defeats for good measure, and a lot of personal growth by everyone involved. Coach established an expectation that everyone in the program would conduct themselves with class, that we would treat people the way we would like to be treated, put our best foot forward in the classroom and in the community. I don't know a lot of high school football coaches, if any, who've done it the way Coach has done it. There are a lot of excellent coaches in the state, and there have been in the past. But he's reached the pinnacle of the game in multiple classes, leagues, at urban, rural, public, and private schools alike. He's moved around creating his vision for success that has resonated in very different communities. I see the combination of Coach's philosophy with the mission statement culture of Cheverus as a two-way blessing. The kind of young men we have here, respectful, intelligent, well-rounded, committed, combined with Coach Wolfgram's outstanding leadership, may have just been the highest form of his expression of leadership in sports. Coach, on behalf of everyone here tonight, your former Cheverus players and their families, your coaches, your Cheverus administrators and colleagues who've supported you, I say thank you for the positive impact that you've had on hundreds of young Cheverians on the gridiron and in the classroom. You've changed many lives here for the better. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach John Wolfgram.
Thank you, Michael. It was very complimentary. No roasts. All right. To begin with, I'd like to thank the nominating committee for my selection into the Hall of Fame. It's a real honor. Cheverus High School has a rich athletic tradition, and to be part of that is, like I said, a real honor. I'd like to introduce my family also. My family is off to my left over here. My wife, Adine, who has been my #1 assistant coach for the last 51 years. She understands more about football than I do, I think. My daughter, Beth, with her son, Zachary. My son, Josh, with his wife, Tiffany, and his 2 sons, Calvin and Miles. And I'm just checking out. Brett, did you make it here? Not sure. Okay. And my son, Brett, I wasn't sure if he's here or not. Sometimes he needs a watch to be on time. But, all right. The Cheverus coaching position is my last stop in a coaching career that began in Orono in 1969. It's a career that has spanned 51 years. The position has been a rewarding position for a number of reasons. To begin with, it has given me an opportunity to teach and coach at a Jesuit school, a school with a unique philosophy, a school which promotes the concept of people for and with others. Cheverus lives out this philosophy in every aspect of the school. We try to assimilate the philosophy in our football program. Secondly, the football position offered me an opportunity to rebuild a program built around the culture of excellence, what we called excellence with integrity. This has been our mantra since 2006, a philosophy our kids bought into. Most veteran coaches understand the fun and reward in coaching is in the building of a program, what is often called the process. Coaching at Cheverus has also provided me an opportunity to work with some great people, parent groups, teachers, coaches, administrators. I see some parents here tonight. The parents were extremely helpful in everything we did. Work with some great coaches, and in terms of administration, there are several administrators here tonight that worked with me when I was the head coach. They are Jack Dawson, the admissions director, John Mullen, the principal, Gary Hoyt, the athletic director, and Marie Cross, administrative assistant. They're outstanding people who are extremely beneficial to what we did in football. Along with the support staff administration, I've had a great group of assistant coaches. Coaches who understand the game of football, are excellent communicators, and care about kids. The staff has been a huge part of our success we've had. First of all, Mike Vance, who was an outstanding head coach, and he and I have worked together for a number of years. Ken Chinquette, Kenny, I pronounced that correctly, I think. Thank you. Ken Chinquette, a Cheverus grad, who has been coaching on our staff for 12 years. Extremely valuable asset to our staff. Claude Burgoyne, who I call our Swiss Army knife on our staff. He can do everything. He can coach offense, defense, run the weight room, run the videotape. He can do everything, and he's been with us for a long time. Paul Roy. Paul is a veteran in our staff. He came on board after a great career in Keene, New Hampshire. He came on board and just gave us a veteran presence on our staff. And we also had several members in the freshman staff. Dan Costigan, who worked as a freshman coach, Rich Ashley, Dan Soul, and DJ Tangway. Just had an outstanding staff to work with. And most important about my football position, I got to work with some great kids. Talented athletes, excellent students, high character young men. That's what coaching is all about, the relationship you have with the players in your program. We've had some great kids come through our program in the last decade and a half. I'm not going to mention any specific players, but I'd like to mention some of the awards and accolades they have won. In that time period, we've had 2 Fitzpatrick Trophy winners as the outstanding player in the state, along with 2 other finalists. We've had a Gatorade Player of the Year. We've had 1 Gaziano Award winner and 2 other finalists. We also had a number of student athletes go on to play college football at a high level. Some of the colleges and universities they attended: Ohio State University, the University of Connecticut, University of Maine, Orono, UNH. We had a captain at UNH, Bowdoin, Bates, Husson. We had a captain at Husson. Endicott, Maine Maritime Academy. We had a captain at Maine Maritime Academy. UNE, Salve Regina, Stonehill, and Alfred. Just a great list of colleges our kids went to and excelled. We are really proud of the student athletes that have come through our program and what they did after school. In terms of our football performance on the field, so there are several things that I am proud of, mainly intangible things, things that were part excuse me, of the culture of our program. First of all, our willingness to prepare week in and week out, and our intention to do the little things well. Next, the competitive spirit we played with on a weekly basis, playing hard and smart over 48 minutes. And thirdly, the consistency we played with, a consistency that was a result of self-motivation as players and our synergy as a team. I think these intangible points of emphasis were proven on the field in several situations. You might call these seminal events over my coaching tenure at Cheverus. There are several, but I'm only going to mention a few. Our epic Western Maine final victory against Deering in 2010. A victory which was one of the most exciting games I've been a part of. Anybody who was at that game recognizes that was an epic football game. Just a lot of fun, a huge crowd, and a great football game. A hard-fought victory over Thorne Academy in 2014. We had a great rivalry with Thorne Academy with us here. That victory was an overtime victory, which eventually led to a state championship appearance for us. 3 state championship appearances, 2 of them victories, 1 over Bangor and 1 over Lawrence. A 34-game winning streak, a streak which began in 2010 and ended in 2012. That streak, a Class A record, was a great example of the consistency that we played with. Overall, it was a great run. My tenure as football coach was a very gratifying experience. Over the past 4 years, I've worked with Coach Vance as an assistant. Through his leadership, we won an 8-man football championship in 2021. In summary, my coaching experience at Cheverus has been a very rewarding experience, an experience supported by outstanding people. When I accepted the coaching position in 2006, I had no idea where the coaching road would take me. But as it turned out, the road was exciting and eventful. It has been a great opportunity over the past 16 years to be a Cheverian. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Coach. Now I would like to introduce John Carey, member of Cheverus class of 1962, and Ty Curran, member of the class of 1959, who will introduce the 1961 basketball team.
I can give you all of my basketball knowledge in about 20 seconds, so I won't. I'm here, John Curry's asking me to come and speak somewhat about the coaches of the team from 1961. Steve Notice, who assisted my father. Steve got his start down in the Recreation League down in Saco, teaching young children how to play. And he came to my father, I know, and told my dad that he would like to work with him and develop a system of defense, and he was going to write a book and publish his thoughts and his philosophy on how defense should be played on the basketball floor. Steve was a great technician. He had a great deal of knowledge about how things could be done and what the form should be and how the defense should line up. But unfortunately for Steve, he got too involved in coaching with my father and having fun, and he forgot all about the book, and it was never published. My father now taught here for years. He has spent 35 years coaching here in the state of Maine. He coached at South Portland High on 2 occasions, and here on 2 occasions. He coached football, basketball, baseball, year after year after year. And he coached with enthusiasm, dedication, and he set a very high standard of behavior for his players and his fellow coaches. He loved Chevrolet. He loved everything about it. He loved the kids he played for. He coached. He coached some very outstanding young men. He coached some very great athletes, and he coached 2 teams which I think maybe were his favorites. One was the 1948 state championship team, and Jack Dawson mentioned about the Fighting Irish. Sonny Conley, Joe Flaherty, Needles Noonan, Billy Clark, Frank Piacentini, and they were extremely competitive. They also got to the semifinals of the New England tournament. And the other team that I think he liked as probably his favorite was the 61 team. Outstanding players, people that played all the sports that he had played and the games, the sports that he had coached, all around athletes, and one of his favorite teams. And I will say nothing about how they played or anything else, and I'll turn the table over here to John Kerry. Thank you.
What a great honor. How humbling it is to be here. I have my family, my wife, my children, my brother, my sister-in-law, my sister, and my sister Mary. You ever hear of Mary's Walk in Saco? Mary's Walk, we've raised about $4 million for cancer research. And I wear her tie. She gave me this tie in about 3 months before she died of cancer. So everywhere I go that's special, I bring her with me. So she's here tonight with you. Let me just say this. First thing, I was telling my wife, Linda, I had been up most of the night I have several businesses that I do, and one of them keeps me up most of the night. And I was in Boston this morning about 4 o'clock in the morning delivering eels to Boston on their way to Hong Kong. And so I said to her, look, Linda, I'm coming to Chevrolet tonight, and I've got to prepare some remarks to talk about. And I really hope John Cimino comes because he was the superstar on our basketball team. And I thought Santo might not come. And Jimmy Hamilton from New York was thinking of coming. And I said, I hope he comes. So there'll be some people there. Some of the people were ill. I wanted them to come and to be honored. And so I said, gee, Linda, I don't think there's going to be that many guys there from our team because of their schedules that are in Florida or whatever. And she says, oh, John, that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. She said, but there's some good news. You're going to give a very short speech. That was how I listened to her. So she knows how I like to speak. But my first thoughts were today, I want to honor Father Bob. I want to thank you for the spirituality of all of our gatherings whenever we have them. It means a lot, especially to us old timers. Cheverus means a lot to us. It is a qualitatively different place to be. It has been for many, many years. Certainly was when I was here. And when you talk about academic excellence or spiritual excellence, or certainly in our case, athletic excellence, we all understand as families how it works. To listen to Richie Ashley give his speech today, I'm so edified by the emotions and by the sincerity about the love that comes from that. We have that love here. Pete Kimner's brother was my seatmate for 2 years here at Cheverus. Kerry Kimner, very easy. Sat side by side many years. Wonderful young man. Lifelong friends. Pete and I went to Holy Cross together. There were many, many things that Cheverus has done for young people here that go beyond the pale, if you will. When I was thinking of Coach Curran and what could be said, I wanted to say nothing but thank you for another father. When I was here at Cheverus, I was given the gift of a person who took care of me, all of the spirituality, all of the physical, all of the academic needs. Ty Curran's mother, Chick, made me sandwiches every day when I came to Cheverus. And she used to wrap them up, put them in a bag, and Coach Curran would pick me up, bring me here to school, and I'd have my sandwiches. And Tig, many times Tig, who was an excellent athlete himself, went to Dartmouth, played against Holy Cross. We beat him, Pete. We beat Dartmouth several times at Holy Cross. But Tig would come in here and say, oh, I want that ham sandwich, and there'd be a note on the board. Nope, that's for Johnny Kerry. Don't touch that ham sandwich. And so there are those types of relationships that come. So when you think of Cheverus, you think of what Peter had said earlier tonight. It means so much to what makes us happy, what makes us tick, why are we so qualitatively different? Why do we want our children and our friends' children to come here? And why do we help support Cheverus? It's because it is qualitatively different. Our basketball team in 1961 was an exceptionally good team. And I think the biggest thing about the team, it had heart, it was extremely well coached, and it was a team that worked together. There was unselfishness all around. That was quintessentially the ethic that Coach Curran gave us. The other thing about our team was that there was specialties. I happen to be a defensive specialist. Never could be what Richie Ashley could be. But the defensive specialists helped out the real essence of our team. There were three key players on the team. John Cimino, who is here today. There was Santos Cimino, who was an excellent athlete and great guard. And then there was Dick Joyce, okay? And the fourth, I'll put the fourth one in there, Paul Sullivan. That 1961 team had a nucleus of excellent athletes. They were excellent football players, they were excellent baseball players, and they were excellent basketball players. So when we played against Deering, or we played against South Portland, or Lewiston, or Morse, and ultimately when we played against Presque Isle up in the Bangor Auditorium for the state title, our team came together as a team. And we were able to prevail and go forward. So I think one of the things I would like to say, the reason I wanted to make sure that I was so thankful that John Cimino was here, because John Cimino was the person that was able to dominate a game. He was able to out-rebound, he was able to out-muscle, he was a good shooter, he was a good foul shooter, but he was also the person that we looked to when things were tough. And that went from when we were playing in the Expo to the up in Bangor Auditorium when we played Presque Isle. Presque Isle averaged about 80 to 85 points a game. And when we played them, we defeated them by about, I'd say, 20 points. And it was due to Dick Joyce, John Cimino, Santo Cimino, and Paul Sullivan primarily. But I think it's also important for you to know that we had, and I'm going to name the players, there's Tommy Carr, God rest his soul, Paul Sullivan, God rest his soul, Bobby Murphy, he was a guard, Jimmy Lomack, who would have been here today, he was not feeling well, he was a guard, and Jimmy Hamilton, who was here, who came up from Long Island, who was an excellent rebounder. I think he probably was almost as tall as John Cimino and Santo. Jetty Newman, who was a legend in coaching in the state of Southern Maine. He was a great guard. And of course, Joe Cloutier. Joe Cloutier was a person who was, as you know, a great baseball pitcher. And he broke his leg playing football, I believe, his junior year, sophomore year. Jack, maybe you'd know. But the reality was that this team came together, put together a series of wins that gave us the state title, but it also, I think, represented Cheverus extremely well. My conclusion, at least from my remarks, I was here, I was blessed to know Jack Dawson, there was Father Powers, there was Father Mahoney. They used to they'd come and visit us at our homes, support us in every way that we could, and we gave as much as we could on the athletic field, and we did as well as we could academically as well. And I always thought about it this way. As a young man, I used to sit across the table with my brothers. My brother Richard is here. Richard went to Thornton Academy. Thornton Academy was one of our biggest rivals. Richard was an all-state football player and an all-Telegram League baseball player. So I knew what excellence was with my brother Dave and brother Dick. And when I came here to Cheverus, I could always remember that the players on our 1961 teams, both baseball and basketball, always felt that we were going to win. And we wanted to win for the right reasons. We wanted to do our team well, our school well, and our families well. And I think we were very well supported in that manner. I want to thank you all for this honor. And I also want to thank Coach Wolfgram, Pete, and also Richie. It's a great honor to be in the same room with you guys and with everybody here. Thank you very much.
I'd like to recognize the members of this team who have passed away. Joseph Cloutier, Richard Joyce, John Newman, Paul Sullivan, assistant coach Steve Notice, and coach William Curran. And for the teammates who are here this evening, please come up to stage and accept your award when I call your name. Tom Carr. John Cimino. Santo Cimino. James Fury. Lawrence Googans. Jim Hamilton. John Carey. Jim Lomack. And Richard Murphy.
Congratulations, Richie Ashley, Pete Kimmener, John Wolfgram, and the 1961 basketball team. What a testament to our rich athletic history and the character development that happens through sport at Cheverus. Pope Francis wrote a letter on the importance of sport entitled, "To Give the Best of Oneself." In that letter, the Holy Father outlined the importance of sport and how it helps us to reject the idea of conquering an objective by focusing only on ourselves. The letter noted the need for others includes not only teammates, but also managers, coaches, supporters, the family. In short, all those people who, with commitment and dedication, make it possible to give the best of oneself. All this makes sport a catalyst for experience of community and the human family. This has been a wonderful experience of the Cheverus community. Thank you again to all those who have joined us here this evening, and thank you for being here tonight. God bless you all, and there's a reception afterwards across in the small gym. God bless you. Have a great night.